Hi, welcome to the Paper Snob. It is Sunday, and that means it's time for another Scraplift Crafternoon. I chose this week's layout. This layout is by Michelle Hendserson. I will have her stuff linked below my video in that description box, as well as a collaborative playlist that will have everybody who's participating this week's videos already there. All you have to do is click on that playlist and they'll just play right on through for you. So I did choose to use some different items. Michelle used Print Shop by Vicki Boutin in hers, and I am not going to be using that. I'm going to be using my counterfeit kit from May. I haven't quite used it all, and so I wanted to see if I could use up a few more of these scraps. And I think I will be able to do a fairly good job of that. So one of the things when I chose this, I was mostly just looking at that mixed media. And as my buddies pointed out, there's a rosette in it. So I am going to be using a die to create that rosette because I have a die that will do it and makes my life a whole lot easier. It is a Tim Holtz Alterations paper rosette die, and currently it is all glittery because the last time I used it, I used cheapy black glitter paper. Will not do that again. That stuff was awful. But I will probably cut 4 of these strips because it looks like that the one on the layout is very loose, whereas if I just did one of these, it would be very tight. So I'm going to do that. And yes, you can make a paper rosette with a scoreboard and a scoring tool, or you can just fold it by hand if you would like. That isn't my style, but hey, all the more power to you if you can get that done, huh? I chose these Distress Oxide inks because I am going to be using the same stencil that she used because I love this stencil and I haven't gotten to use it quite yet. And I also pulled out some stamps for the circle elements because it looks like in the original layout she had some stamped images placed on top of the stenciling, and maybe she also hand drew some circles around a couple of them. I'll have to pull it up to look closely, but we'll see what I do as we get going. I'm going to be using this adorable picture of my granddaughter sleeping, and I have lots of things to play with that are layers. I even included some circle ephemera pieces from my May kit, and I may use those instead of stamping. We'll see. We'll see what I do. Maybe I'll use both. Anyway, I am going to stop this video and I'm going to get started with this mixed media. So I'm going to speed you up a little bit. Bye. So I was super excited to see this background and the use of this particular stencil on this layout because I really like this stencil, and I haven't really played with Print Shop, any of it, much since I've purchased it, and yeah, I own it all. But I really like this stencil, but I'm using my counterfeit kit from May to create this layout, and it only has a little subtle blue in the flowers that I'm going to be using on this layout. So I'm using 2 Distress Oxides that are very close together in hue. They are Faded Jeans and Stormy Sky. These are a more subdued blue than what's on the original layout, and that is perfectly okay. You could use any stencil that you wanted on this background to scrap lift her. You don't have to use the same stencil that she did. I just chose to use it because I have it and I haven't really gotten to play with it much. So I am just kind of doing 2 of the circles in full of one color, and then I'm bringing in the other color and kind of mixing the middle set of circles a little bit between the 2 colors and just kind of creating a very subtle gradient. I will also come in and spray these with water. This is not Vicki Boutin's foundation cardstock. This is a Joann's cardstock. It is 165 pound weight. It holds mixed media very well. So I tend to use it when I'm not using anything super heavy. And maybe since I used water with this, I should have used foundations, but this works, and this cardstock is really cheap, especially if you wait for Joann's to put it on sale. So here I'm going to bring in these two colors, and I'm going to go ahead and add some splatters to this layout with these colors. I'm going to spritz each little square that I smudged on my glass mat, and I'm just going to use a paintbrush to just kind of flick splatters all over. Now I will add the, I think it's fossilized amber later. So I was really hoping that my paper rosette would be a little bit wider than it turned out, but I make it work, and means I didn't have to waste a paper rosette and all of that beautiful pattern paper that I used to create it. This was a sheet of butterfly pattern paper from my May kit, and I had two 6x12 pieces of it, and I used all of it to create this rosette because I did cut it out with that die 4 times. So I am going to begin layering up all of these little pieces on here. I do want to make a note that I showed you a bunch of stamps at the beginning of the video, and I only used the frame, which you see me right here adding to this stack of layers. I did not end up using any of the circle elements because I had some circle ephemera pieces that I decided that I wanted to use instead. But I could have stamped on those circles or stamped out some circles and layered them over on my background as well. I like how using the pieces of ephemera, 1, means I don't have to put them up, and 2, it gets them put on the layout, and I think they look really good. So I am just adding some wet glue on the top half of this stack of layers, and off camera I do end up fully gluing down all of those layers so that it does not move in the page protector. The original layout had lots of wordy bits, and I only choose a few small wordy bits for my layout. They do show up in the circle ephemera that I am adding to my background, and I put a few in the layers as well as an arrow that points to my granddaughter's face. Scarlett is almost 3 in this photo, and this is around the time where we were able to start having her for a couple of weeks at a time. And now that she started school, I have to wait until the summertime to have her, but we still get to spend quite a bit of time with her. And this is important because our son is no longer in Scarlett's life, but her mom allows us to have her and enjoy her and get to know her, and it is just usually such a special time with her. So you saw me just now add some fun foam because I was noticing that my layers were a little lopsided, so I added some fun foam in there just to bring that layer that's not on the rosette up. Now I'm going to tuck in these flowers. Originally, these flowers were not in my May kit. I had fussy cut those out of a Maggie Holmes pattern paper. I think it's Market Square or something like that is the name of the collection, and it is probably the only one of the pattern papers from that collection that I really liked, and I sat and I fussy cut the entire sheet out. And when I noticed at the beginning of the month that these flowers matched my May kit, I have just been throwing them in there. So I also had some wooden enamel dots in my kit, and I pulled out the gray ones to sprinkle on my page. And now I'm going to cover up my photo, or I will here in a minute, and I'm going to use this fossilized amber distress oxide to add some more sprinkles to my layout because the original layout had several colors of sprinkles, and so I wanted to make sure that I added another color. So I also bring in my white linen spray by Delusions to add some more depth into the sprinkles around on my layout. This layout, I love how it turned out. It just makes me so happy looking at it. Thank you for stopping by my channel today. I hope that you liked this video. If you did, please click that thumbs up button and subscribe. If you have any comments or questions about my layout, drop them below and I'll get back to you as soon as possible. Make sure that you check out that collaborative playlist below to see what the rest of my Scraplift Crafternooners tribe are doing with this inspiration layout. You have a great Sunday. Bye.